So, Dan Nevans, Piping Live 2024. Mate, this rolls around so quick every year.
Quicker and quicker, I think, actually.
Yeah, so tell me, what does the festival look like for you? You're an incredibly busy guy during this time.
Yeah, but I've actually managed to pare things down a little bit because I have an added, I was going to say stress, it's not a stress, an added joy this year. In that the school band project that I've been working on for 8 years has finally made it to the Worlds. So I can't be around quite as much. But it also means that, for us in the piping school, we took on a lot of responsibility for events, and generally it's day management, so getting people from rooms to stage and things like that, being points of contact. So you tend to have long days and short days. So like yesterday for me was like a 12-hour day.
Oh,
but today will be quite a strict 8-hour day. But there's the added factor as well of one way or another, we're all performing. So for the likes of myself, Margaret Houlihan, Andrew Bova, we're playing Friday, Saturday. And it's the most stressful weekend of the year, pipe band Christmas. But you've got to be ready for that. So, for example, I have not touched a drop of alcohol since Sunday afternoon.
That's difficult during Piping Live, mate.
Yeah, well, keep bringing the car in with me. That's
there you go.
The best excuse. But it'd be very, very easy to just go. Even last night, the thing is because you feel like you had to be part of the thing.
Yeah.
But you're doing kind of the job. So even today, I run the Pipe Idol event, which is it's become one of our premier events.
Absolutely.
I'd say that it's for the young folk competing in it. They take it very seriously, and sometimes I've had to say maybe relax a little. What do you call it? But today, Wednesday, I'll be away during it, so it's been run by one of our kind of senior volunteers. I just hope I've
left in a good enough state that I can keep the wheel turning. Exactly.
And the guys playing it, they know what they're doing. They're kind of picked that way.
That's it. So I have to ask you then about shots. What a season you guys have had, up and down and up and down. It's been so varied this year for all bands in Grade 1.
It's probably in my lifetime of being associated with pipe bands, I would say this is one of the most broad spectrum competitive seasons. There's another factor though that I think's got to be thought of, which is that there's only 10 bands domestically in Grade 1.
There you go.
Right? Yeah. So if you're fifth, you're actually mediocre. You're middle of the pack.
Yeah.
Well, on paper, I don't mean that seriously, right? That's not fair.
No, but I get what you're saying though. Yeah, you're middle of the pack out of a possible 10.
You're in the prize list, but there's only 10 bands. So I think that works both ways. When you go like, if you're kind of 4th, 5th, 6th, you're going, well, we're kind of in the middle of the group. But if you, by the same token, if you're 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 8th, 9th, 10th, sorry, the bottom three, that can seem really extreme, but that you're still part of, maybe the top 16 bands on the planet.
Absolutely.
Which I think it can be very grim that way, and what I would say about it is this, I've been thinking about this a lot. When I first came into Grade 1 nearly 20 years ago, people used to talk about Grade 1A and Grade 1B. So I was in the Vale of Atholl at the time, and piping-wise, we were contesting for top 3 spaces. In the first year, 2 years that I was there, it dropped off after that. But the thing that kind of sticks in my brain there is that band thought of itself as a B band that was like sticking its head above the parapet. It was, asking for graces above its level.
Yeah.
Which is not really the attitude to have. And I don't think the bands, I don't know if it's because the grade's smaller, but I feel like bands are much more willing to go, no, we're good performers and we can play really well, and nobody's ignorant. I mean, there is a propaganda machine out there. Everybody's got one. And whenever people try to tell me they don't, I laugh in the face. Because they usually tell me they don't after telling me how good their band is. But this leads us to another fact. And I think this is amazing. Sunday morning pipe majors are a real thing. Drone chorus, yourselves, the Big Rab Show, bagpipe staff, Jim Ramsey, the whole 9 yards. Within 48 hours of a Grade 1 contest, you will have recordings of that band that you can sit in your gaff and judge yourself.
Armchair judge. Yeah.
And that means nothing, right? Obviously, the 4 adjudicators on the day, they control the whole game, and that's fine, whatever. But I wonder about the court of public opinion.
Mm.
I think that's a really interesting thing.
It's a valid question.
I wonder how much that creates. Like, everybody's allowed to have their favourite bands. You know, it's I like to think, having went from being probably quite extreme in my views, very cut and dry, to being a bit more easygoing.
There you go. That's no bad thing, though, Dan. Yeah.
No, I think it's a sign of maturity. You know,
there you go.
But I try to find something I like, and I do this as an assessor. I do this as an adjudicator. I try to do it as a coach, where you go, right, let's talk about the good things first, because the bad things tend to be quite obvious. You know? So that was in terms of our season. I think that's a kind of defining factor. Is it's on the up and up. We started the season risking our lives, quite literally risking our lives. I've never been so scared in a performance. And I suffer from some serious anxiety. And I'd say that I was doing the calculations going, I'm 5'9", and the pipes are made of like a mixture of dark hardwoods and it's like nickel silver. That guy's got a set of silver nails. That guy's 6'3". Who's more likely to get struck by lightning here? Battering away.
Yeah. It meant for some really dramatic photographs, though.
It sure did.
Yeah.
What'd you call it? And you know what was daft? See, about 10 minutes after we came off the park, beautiful blue skies.
I know, that was the weirdest thing. It's like someone turned the tap off.
It was unbelievable. What can you do? It just goes to show you, man plans, God laughs.
There you go. Yeah.
But it also says another thing. It's something my father used to say to me when I was a boy. He'd say, you will be tested and you've got to stand the line. And, you know, win, lose a draw come Saturday night, I feel very proud to be in a band of folk that I feel like I can go, they will stand the line under pressure. They will do the best they possibly can in that moment. And we were tested. And we came away with a win over the reigning world champions.
There you are. Yeah. Oh, it was definitely a line in the sand moment, you know, and had everybody talking. Yeah. So I don't know. It's been such a varied season this year. It's been so exciting to watch, even as a spectator. I'm sure as a competitor, it's pretty stressful been in there, but as a fan,
it's a lot less stressful now, actually. I genuinely think that opening performance of the year put a lot of folk into perspective.
Yeah.
To be like, we're here to play music that people enjoy. We're trying to play the best of our ability. You cannot control what adjudicators think of you. You won't get to hear the contest. If you do get to hear the contest, well, you're only playing anyway. So
there you go.
But I think for everybody, you know, everyone's had their ups and their downs. We're so close. And here, this is a thought that's been battered through my mind. Homogeny. Chesney Reed's some version of a Shepherd chanter.
Yeah.
Top bands of the planet are all playing it. Okay, we're playing the Broadley chanters, right?
Yes.
But let's be honest, we all know what they are, right? And see, even if you go back to those Mark 1 and 2 chanters, they're lifted off of Kintail chanters for the late 70s that the Dysart played.
Oh, right. I didn't know
which
that.
Which are lifted off of Sinclair chanters that the Shaws played in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So it's you know, the old ones are the best ones.
There you go.
I would definitely say to the plastic fanatics out there to do their research. I'm hearing a lot of mad stuff about variances in 1980s plastic, where I go, I don't think that's quite true. You know, one man talked to me about trying to get chanters that weigh less than 50 grams.
Right.
All the chanters that weigh less than 50 grams, they're the good chanters. And I went,
really?
I don't know. And then I weighed my own chanter. I've I think most professional pipers do. I've got a drawer full of plastic chanters. Yeah. And I don't think one of them was even close, either up or down.
Wow.
And there's chanters that I've won solo piping prizes on, chanters that I've played in pipe bands that have won prize, all that sort of stuff.
I've never heard of that weighing it.
Don't worry about it.
I'll not try that. No. There you go. What do you call it? So, Dan, I have to ask you some personal questions then. Are you a Star Wars fan by any means? I know you're a fan of
no, really.
Science fiction and Marvel and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, you know what's funny is my science fiction. I think Star Wars was a great gateway drug, but I tend to find myself knee deep in very heavy duty lower sci-fi, like Dune, for example.
Oh, really? I was going to ask you about the Dune movies. Yeah.
What do you call it? Yeah, I loved those things for a long time. Even that kind of terrible Kyle MacLachlan 1980s.
Oh,
but during the pandemic, I sat down. my wife and I, we were like throwing back, oh, I really like this movie, or you've never seen it yet. Da, 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 da. You know, and we kind of exchanged art that way. I just couldn't sit through it. I just couldn't. And I was like, but what she said to me, and actually this was really interesting, she goes, over the course of about 3 weeks, we'd done a bunch of these kind of movie nights, and she goes, every film that you sit down with me to watch, you have to explain what's going on, and that means it's a bad film. And I went, aye, you've got me there. That's fair. But yeah, it's kind of heavy. Why do you ask about Star Wars?
No, I'm just curious because I know there's a lot of piping fans out there that are also fans of sci-fi. What I'm noticing, like I'm a fan of NFL. I love watching American football, and that's sort of my interest outside of piping. But what I'm finding is a lot of folk outside of piping are really into like comic books and sci-fi and stuff like that. So comics not a thing for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, Jings, you won't believe this, Rap. I actually wrote a comic series.
Really?
I did, yeah. When I was at university, I played in a rock band. It was a 9-piece, I'm going to call it pop metal band. And it was about, we all wore costumes. It was daft. It was reasonably well known within Glasgow. But as a kind of promotions tool, I wrote a kind of 6-issue series of comics that, to be honest, we distributed, like you could buy them for £1 at a gig, and we had them in a cut, like Forbidden Planet had them on their kind of local bit, and the place Geek Retreat that's on Union Street, they stocked them, but we're talking like, and we tried to get kind of local artists, and to be honest with you, they were very sort of basic and simple, and but they were a good laugh. But yeah, no, the comics thing was a big deal for me. I think about this a lot. And I wonder, actually, would we put this out to Big Rav Show listeners, right? You know, they say never meet your heroes.
Yeah.
I got to meet my heroes growing up. My father knew them all, right?
Yeah.
So, like Ian McClellan, I wouldn't say I'd know the man close or anything like that, but I've got to interact with him over the years, and there's that kind of level of celebrity. There's a certain escapism, I think, in the world of piping and pipe bands.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we've all just got a little bit of that thing of like, we all like the fantastic, you know. And I talk about this with students a lot, and it's Willie McCallum really put this in my head this year. Good and great are separated by the thinnest of measurements. One man's trash and another man's treasure, right? So what makes the difference? Well, it's perspective, it's presentation. So like, a good presentation of art versus a bad presentation of art. A great example of this is the Zack Snyder Justice League movie, right?
Perfect.
A really good presentation of that particular story, except that particular story is a mixture of a couple of different Justice League stories centred around a book by a Scottish writer called Grant Morrison called Kingdom Come. Right. Feel free to correct me in the comments. It might be slightly different than that, but the storyline's the same thing. But the actual comic, I'm sure it's Kingdom Come, is it'll leave you in tears. Honestly, it's an incredible story, the way it's told, the artwork, everything. But it's a very different presentation of ideas. And I think about, like, you know, we, the zeitgeist, we, the culture, we love lore. We love to know what was happening way back when. But we live in this very physical present of, you were 5th at this contest, but you won that one, and with statistics, analysis, data.
Yeah.
And I think what's really kind of cool in there as well is we've got this weird dichotomy of, you live inside of 4 months, but you think about 100 years. I think that's really, really cool. And I'd actually wonder about listeners, viewers, if they'd go, oh yeah, actually I do that. But see, as soon as Sunday comes, Sunday afternoon, you'll go to the park bar and it'll be the best of the best, the pipe band scene, laughing and joking with each other, and the season is over. 9 p.m. Saturday night, game's a bogey. And if you want to be greeting-faced about it, you can be greeting-faced about it. What I would say to anybody who is upset with any result they get is, you get half an hour to be sour. Half an hour of sour.
There you go, perfect.
And then let it go. I've made that mistake myself. You carry these things around.
That's it, absolutely. But no, that's really, I don't know, that's made me think now too. You're quite right. We do live within that 4-month bracket.
But you think about the greater, you think about, what do you call it? And there's a really interesting thing in there, and this is just maybe getting older, is I'm slowly but surely chiseling away at a book about pipe bands. And I've been thinking a lot about why we do things the way we do them. Because everybody's got great ideas.
Yeah.
Do you know what I find is? We've got piles of ideas, right? It's like, you talk about the European food mountain and the lake of wine and all that.
Yeah.
The excess food the EEC has.
Yeah.
Right, we've got that in ideas. But you know what we don't have? Shovels. Very few folks seem to be able to go, I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to go and enforce that. And we've all got to make our choices that way. That's fine. But what's interesting, and I'd actually refer to an interview with Alistair Aitken on Piper's Persuasion here. Alistair points out that over his 40-odd years of being part of the management of the adjudicators panel and as an adjudicator, that he would see somebody go, we're going to do X, and then X fails because there's some sort of hole in it, some problem.
Right.
And then 10 years later, someone goes, what if we did X? I've just thought of this. And like, we've got this strange thing of like, we love to go, oh, see that Fraser's 1997 medley? Aye, but do you remember them get disqualified in 1994 and how the rules changed after that?
Yeah. There you go.
Or the rules were defined after that. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm saying that's what happened.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of interesting wee bits of history there.
Oh,
where
for
I think
sure.
sometimes we need to go, let's sit down and figure out why that didn't work and why we should make it work this time, if it's worth making it work.
There you go. That's something we found this season, Dan. Just in wrapping up, I guess. A lot of bands now are looking back to the older music, like 70s, 80s now, especially with that 70s tribute band. Like, a lot of people looking towards that music now as a result.
Do you not think it was dead interesting? Like, I'll be honest with you, I'd never really thought about it much. I just kind of went, that was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
My grandfather was, I don't know, kind of an early archivist in a certain way. He God knows where he got it from, because the family was skint, but he had a reel-to-reel recorder.
Right.
So he would stand at pipe band contests and point a microphone at pipe bands.
There you go.
So somewhere in my father's house, there's a box or a bag with all these microfilms, reel reels.
Yeah.
And one of them is the 1970 World Pipe Band Championships.
Wow.
I don't think it's very good quality, but I remember my father digging it out and being like, there it is. Yes, boy, there's the thing. But you know what I thought was interesting in terms of musicology? We looked at this in the HNC composition class for a session, was the parallels, right? Pipe band medley. March tune, you got to move to get into that circle.
Yeah.
Some sort of dance music. So space, reels, jigs. Slow air, dance music to finish.
There you go.
Since 2004, since the Prelude and B minor SFU medley, we've had this like reprising ideas. Now, I am a big fan when it's done well, and I am a massive critic when it's done poorly. I think a lot of bands are doing it in a way now where you go,
it feels forced almost.
You're expected to do it.
Yeah,
but isn't the magic? And this comes back to what I was talking about before. We love magic. All of us want the magic.
There you go.
It's in being surprised pleasantly and going, oh, here's that thing.
There's that theme again.
So Inveraray made that big splash last year by having a rest, right?
Yeah, the chanter choke, yeah.
But why it works so well is, first of all, it's got a great impact, right? It's a simple tune that you expect to just kind of toddle on, and then there's this thing that gives you a suggestion of a percussive impact.
Yes.
And you don't see it coming. And it set the fox amongst the henhouse last year. It really did.
Big time.
Jaws wagging, like you wouldn't believe. I've never heard so many people come out against silence. But I was always like, there's nothing in the rules that says you can't do it. No one took their hand off the chanter. No one stopped the drones. It's a facility that this instrument can provide. And if you can pull it off, and let's be honest, that's the difficult bit, isn't actually pulling it off.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if Stuart Liddell were here, he would begrudgingly say, sometimes we've nailed it, sometimes we've not nailed it. But that's the magic.
There you go. That's it. Yeah, so who knows where the music's going to go now, but I have seen a lot of bands now looking back, which is only a good thing.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Yeah.
Do you know what's funny, right? See, we're kind of sort of the same age. And like, the pipe bands that inspired me, that I still kind of go back to a lot, were like the mid-90s Vale of Atholl, Victoria Police, Shots. I'd say those three bands, for me, were hugely influential. I actually find myself gravitating quite a lot now to Robert Matheson's work.
Oh yeah, the Big Burl and all of those recordings.
See,
yeah.
I for my money, I think my favourite, I've got probably a top 5, but see in terms of construction, that first 50, year 2000 medley, right? What they win the World's Way in 2000. I was talking to Margaret Hullen about this, who played in that band. And she mentioned that like there were changes all the way up to the World. So if you had recordings of that medley through the rest of that season, it's slightly different. But when they hit Showboat, dum da da bandira, it honestly, it's like, for me, it was like, oh, this is so different. It's like, okay, first 50, cool tune. It's got a couple of wee curves in it, we're going to add a beat here to give it an impact. You've got to think we're doing something else. But it's an A major hornpipe-esque tune, right? A, C, E, high E. Those are the theme notes. Very clear cut. And then you get this dum da da badida. Wait a minute, are they going into Donald Cameron's powder horn? Is it Donald Willie and his dog? No, they're going to go through all this.
Go. Yeah.
And then they go and play something in a totally different key. And like, well, I think that construction, I think the folk that put that medley together, whether it was Robert Matheson solely or a group within the band, can nearly 25 years later absolutely pat themselves on the back and go, that was one of the great pipe band medleys.
Oh, for sure. It still stands up.
And there's loads of bits in it. You know, they play the Wise Maiden in it, and there's just a drop of dot cut in it. It's not quite square. And it's so engaging. And this is one thing I think, you know, when people say to me, oh, why isn't such and such a band placed higher? You know, all the right notes in the right order, good start, good stop, hit the brakes, decent sound, played reasonably well together as a band. And I'll go, it's very dry, it's quite basic, you're not actually going, you've done the requirement. You've not exceeded the requirement.
There you go.
And you think about competition music, competition art. And what I think a lot of players, individuals fail at before they ever go near a band practice. They don't practice the big 5. That are the requirements. Start, stop, breaks, stay in tune, make no mistakes. You need to do that in the house. That's not the band practice. You do that in the house. And then you can go to the band practice and go, all my fundamentals are concrete. Okay, we all make a mistake at a band practice. God, you've been at your work all day. You know,
absolutely.
What'd you call it? I mean, I can be the worst for it. Not the worst for making loads of mistakes, but if I make a mistake, I immediately have my hand up and be like, sorry, I was thinking about something else. Right? But I'll not do that the second Saturday in August, touch wood. But yeah, my point there is like, the bands that excel, their fundamentals are concrete, so they can think about, how does this feel? Why are we doing this way? Rather than the panic of, did everybody get away? Was it a clean run?
Yes, that's it. You're not worried about those things.
Top pipecores on the planet aren't worried about that.
There you go.
If Jack Lee comes off the park and walks over to Alan Bevan on Saturday afternoon and goes, we had a clean run, Alan. I think Alan will be like, I expect you to have a clean run. You're Jack Lee. You should be having a clean run. But like that's the point in there is like, I think a lot of folk expect magic, but this is the thing. Magic's for the audience. It's not for the magician.
No.
You need to have the tricks. If you've got to saw a lady in half, you better know what you're doing. Right? It's a long time in prison.
So Dan, I have to say thanks for chatting with us on the show. It's great to be back at Piping Live again.
Hope you enjoy it. There's plenty of stuff going on. We're all the way through, what do you call it? This is Wednesday, so there's a Bog Hall concert night. The Alistair Gillis is tomorrow night. I think there's a handful of tickets there. I know this is going out after, but I'd say, for the future, if you're looking to come over, please keep an eye on the upcoming events. There's a lot more going on at the Piping Centre than just Piping Live.
Oh, that's it, yeah. So we'll be covering everything in front of the Piping Centre, I guess, as much as we can. And if anything, I'm going to press you now you're on camera. Are we going to see a return of the show on YouTube?
The Piping Show.
The Piping Show.
Well, there's been a bit of a sea change in how the media works here. I would expect to see something like that.
Nice.
I don't know what it's going to be. I think these are all great things to be discussed after the festival's done.
There you go. Get Piping Live done.
We kind of do essentially from the start of July. Once the schools go out, Piping Live's the thing. We've got, I think it's something between 30 and 60,000 people come to Glasgow, and at some point we'll make their way through the hallowed halls here at McPhatter Street. And it's our job to put on great shows, be kind to them. Generally direct them, ask them to be quiet off the back of Pipe Idol. I just put a kind of last thing in here about Pipe Idol. This year we had 46 applicants from 3 different continents.
Wow.
If you're a listener, if you're aged between 14 and 21 and you think you've got the chops to do it, please apply. As many people applying as possible will give us the best possible outcome. Just remember, you have to come to Glasgow during Piping Live to actually compete.
Yeah.
And a few folk who are like, who I think thought it was an online contest.
Oh, I see.
But you will be, it's an opportunity to put your tunes in front of people.
There you go. In front of a massive piping audience, for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. Dan, thanks so much for chatting with us on the show. But